first, I've got five incidences in my life. I'm 88 years old. Now I've been AYF Central Executive, ARF Central Executive, I've been on parish councils, I've been on national representatives, I've been on the camp committee, you name it. Every one of them became possible because of what's happening here, to be able to get along with one another, to be able to discuss things and be able to back down when you're supposed to back down. And that's the only way we get along. It's the best experience in the world for you to go out in the world and you'll be surprised how little people know about what you know. Now the first incident, I was 18 years old, I was in high school. Senior in high school. February, I get a letter, greetings from Uncle Sam. You've been chosen to serve your nation. February, I leave high school, go to Fort Evans, then we go to Fort Dixon, and go to Fort Bliss. And after training, here I am in New York City, Labor Day, sitting on the SS Santa Rosa. So what the hell am I doing here? I'm supposed to be at the AYF Olympics, and I'm sitting on a boat ship, getting to be shipped overseas. I got shipped to Algiers. I was in Algiers for 1 year. But while I was in Algiers, I wrote to my mother and father. My grandfather was still in France. I said, eventually, we're not going to be here all our lives, so give me my grandfather's address, so when I go to France, I'll be able to look him up. Sure enough, boom, we have the invasion of southern France, which I took part in. It went a lot better than we did. So we're ready to move out, and I got all the fellas with me. I gave them the city, the town that my grandfather was. It was Varadian. So I said, you guys see this while we're moving our troops. They came across this. Sure enough, they'll go by Varadian. Hey, Varadian, we found Varadian. Good, okay, we find Varadian. So then I tell the captain, I want to go see my grandfather if it's possible. He said, well, right now the sniper's out. We can't let you go right away, but the first pass is going to be yours. So a week later, he come up. He's Varadian, you can go find your grandfather. He give me a Lieutenant Rob. Give me a French interpreter and a Jeep driver. And we go to find Varadian. How do we find Varadian? I'm in a foreign country, don't know the language, don't know where the streets or anything else. I said, stop at the nearest bar, maybe he plays pinochle there. So we stop at the nearest bar, nobody by that name. So we go into the village. So there's a bakery. At that time, food was short. There's a big long line at the bakery with people waiting to buy bread. So I says to Eugene Dussault, the interpreter, go in that line and see if you can find somebody that knows my grandfather. He goes in there, 5 minutes later he comes back. He's got a smile on his face from ear to ear. He's shaking his head like this. He's Varadian, you're not going to believe this. I said, look, you little French, you're trying to pull one of your tricks. We always play tricks on one another. No. He said, I found your aunt, he said. He pulled the woman out of the line and says, are you a Varadian? You know anybody by the name of Varadian? She says, yes, I'm a Varadian. What's the chances of this and that of pulling someone out of the line in a foreign country, and the first person you pick, it becomes her? Somebody knows something. I don't know that. That's number one. Number two, come back, I'm on the board of trustees of the church. One of our young members got a problem. He ended up in jail. And we decided that this person needs help because he never got in trouble before, so we have to go see him. So I got up, I get in my car, I go to prison. At that time, in the state of Rhode Island, the Irish controlled everything. They include the governors, the mayors, the fire department, police department, the electric company. They had all the ins there. So I walked in, the big Irish guy, he was 6'4", about 200 pounds. He's looking down at me. What do you want? With an Irish brogue, Tom. Irish brogue. He had probably to come over Ireland a week ago or something. What do you want? He says to me. Well, I come to see this individual. I says, I'm from the church. Are you a relative? No, I'm not a relative, he said. Well, you can't see him. Right then and there, my Armenian Gandhi got up and said, I'm not leaving this place till I see this guy. I says, who do I have to see him? You're going to see the warden, he says. I says, all right, how do I get to see the warden? He says, he's going to be right down. I'll call him. So he gets a phone call. He says, the warden can't come down, he says. You're going to send the assistant warden down. And I'm standing there waiting for the assistant warden. This guy comes up there. He looks at me like this. He says, aren't you Sakis' son? I says, yes, sir. John Shockey. It's a customer in my father's store all the time. They saw me in the store. What seems to be the problem? I says, I'm here from the church. I says, this little individual got in a little trouble. We want to let him know that we forgive him and we're trying to get him back on the right track. He looked at the Irish guy like this, as if to say, well, open the goddamn gate, he says. You ever hear that story, 10 foot tall? For that 3 minutes of mine, I was 10 foot tall and I was looking down on him. I said, that's enough for you. Got the kid off, got a family, 2 nice children, grandchildren today. That one visit. What's the chances of me knowing that John Shockey was the assistant warden? Another one. So then we go to Babson College.
Yay, that's right.
My son Michael graduated from Babson College. And Babson had 380 graduates. 2 Armenians in the class, Michael and Larry Ovian. So we go there and I see Mr. Lloyd Elston is the guest speaker of the graduation. President of Peter Paul Mounds Candy Bar. I says to my wife, this is going to be a very interesting afternoon, I said, if it's what I thought. Peter Paul Mounds Candy Bar was found by Peter Paul Haiastan, an Armenian survivor who came over after the genocide, started baking Peter Paul Mounds candy in the attic of his house because it's the summertime. They had to make the candy at night because the heat, there was no refrigeration then. He founded the Peter Paul Mounds Candy Bar with 5 other survivors. Peter Paul Mounds Candy Bar, Peppermint Patty, all founded by the Haiastan. This Lloyd Easton talked for 25 minutes about the Armenian genocide, how the people came to this country, how they went about it, and how they eventually they sold the rights to the Hershey Candy Company. Hershey Candy Company makes the Peter Paul Mounds. After the ceremony, I went and I found Mr. Elston. I had my Armenian flag on me. I says, I have to pin this Armenian flag on you. I said, for what you've done for the Armenian people, I said. He says, I married one of the granddaughters. He says, I know the suffering they did, he said, and it's only just that I speak up at this convention. 2 Armenians in the class, 380. Talk about being 10 foot tall again. I walked out of there 10 foot tall. Later on, he wrote me a letter, told me that he took the Armenian flag to his factory, passed it around the men to see that, that it was done. That goes okay. Next time, next moment, the Armenian monument. I was on a monument coming in Rhode Island where we built a monument to the survivors. It's over $1 million. If any of you go to Rhode Island, you have to go see it. I was on that committee for 7 years. It took us to build the monument. It cost over $1 million. We collected the money and everything just like that. The day of the dedication. The dedication is almost over. So my mother and father, who were survivors of the massacre, I looked up at the sky just as the dedication was over. I says, look, I hope to God that you were alive to see this monument, because they were deserving. They're the ones that did the suffering. My mother ended up in an orphanage home and so forth and so on. Not knowing to me that my mother and father had donated a cross that they have, the procession cross in the church. You people know that all of you around altars that they have a procession with a cross. My mother and father had donated that cross to the church. As the ceremony was ending, I was beginning to leave off the platform. Just as I was to leave, this altar boy walks by with the cross, and just as my eyes fall on that cross, as my mother and father's name on that cross. Now, how do you figure that? When I said to her that I wish she could have arrived, and then just at that particular time. That's one. The last one is the Camp Haiastan. I'm having an operation done on my heart. The doctor tells me you come in the morning, you can go home at night. Fine. Good. I'm in the operating room. They're waiting for anesthesiologist. I'm waiting. It seems that this guy was late. The anesthesiologist walks in. He looks at the card. He's got a mask on. I can't see his name. He's Varadian. Varadian. You were Varadian? Yeah. He says, your son was my counselor at the camp. I said, yeah, good, all right, let's get started. Oh, we turned the mask on my face. 2-hour operations ends up to be 4.5 hours. I find out later on that it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be standing here today. So I went in, and after I'm in recovery room and so forth, he comes down to see me. Hi, Mr. Varadian, how I am fine. He doesn't say anything to me about, how the operation went. I needed 2 pints of blood, so forth and so on. Let me tell you about the camp, he said. 20 minutes he stood there. Now these are all designed. All of you are going to come about these things. You're going to scratch your head. You're going to say, hey, what happened? Just remember that guy upstairs never sleeps, and he's there when you least expect it. Okay? Now your responsibility to these new campers that come in. That 2-week period, you're going to make the difference in some of these kids, whether they become a success or not, because of you. You yourselves, only 4 years ago, were here at campus first time. Some of you couldn't stay, some of you cried, some of you wanted to go home the first week. It's your job to comfort these children and show them the right way, the way things should be done. To listen in life. Some of them are broken away from their apron strings, from their mother. They've never been away from home before. They're going to cry the first night they want to go home. But it's your job to nurse them along and bring them along. And they will remember that for the rest of their lives. Believe me, my son will tell you numerous stories about how successful these people were later on in life. You became a teacher in a very short period of time. 2 years you become teacher. 2 years ago you were campus. Today you're teachers. Campus in training, you learn, you learn respect. It don't cost nothing to be nice to people. You gotta be nice, you gotta nurse them along and bring it. But then you gotta have the Armenian tradition. Don't ever forget that you Armenians. I cannot overstate the importance of the small piece of Armenia in America. Your experience here as a camper, council, director, and friendship you make will stay with you forever, spanning generations. This summer, I have my great-granddaughter as a camper, as well as other relatives. Place your wonderful Armenian heritage, contribute and learn all you can from the outstanding organization. Live your lives true to the spirit of your forefathers, so we can all continue to enjoy, cherish, and experience.